back to another episode of the Goat's Gravy, and today we're connecting with the future GOAT, what we call a rising star, Josh Sullivan. Welcome, Josh.
Josh, hey.
Yeah, well, great to have you. Josh is currently a junior at University of Illinois, where he's also the social chairman of his fraternity. Josh was a great athlete, football player, wrestler, now jiu-jitsu, total stud, so watch out for that. And we're really excited to have Josh today because we're going to get into some great topics for a rising star. So we're going to be learning about some of the experiences that have kind of moved Josh into the direction of wanting a sales career. So we'll get into that. We're also going to talk to him about a summer internship he has with a large tech company. And then we'll get into our MINC topics. So mentorship, internship, networking, and college life, just balancing everything you have going on. Josh is a super motivated guy, really a great young talent, and he's involved with a lot. So it'll be great to hear his story.
Welcome,
so before
Josh.
we get started,
good to have you, buddy.
Yeah, good to have you. Yeah, man.
Pumped to be here.
Josh, maybe start us out with what's been the best experience so far in your college journey, and then also the most embarrassing story that's happened.
Yeah, two great questions. I would say the best experience I've had has definitely been within my fraternity. Coming onto campus, I came from high school where I always had a brotherhood with my football and wrestling team, so wanted to find that camaraderie here at school as well, and I did so immediately through my fraternity. Surrounded by a bunch of good guys that not only push you to have fun and enjoy the college life, but also push you professionally. And it's pretty competitive just to see who could be the best they could be. So definitely fortunate enough to be around a great group of guys like that. And most embarrassing story, another fraternity story for you. We do a Halloween Serenity dance for all the sororities here based around Thriller, Michael Jackson. So, of course, out of all the 33 guys in my pledge class, I was chosen to be the star, Michael Jackson. And
nice.
had to dance to Thriller for 2 minutes in front of every single sorority house for about 3 hours that day. 2 days in a row.
Oh, man, that's great.
For the next 6 months, they were referring to me as MJ, not by any of my names. So, story I'll never forget.
All right, who knew? Now, do you have some natural dancing skills, or was it really forced and really uncomfortable?
Billy, not at all. I'm not a dancer. They chose me because they said I looked the part. So I turned into a pretty good one. I think I'll remember that dance till the day I die, but it was a great experience to introduce me to all the girls.
Maybe pull that out at the wedding someday.
Billy, I got to chime in here. I've been around Billy in some dancing situations. Josh, think of a human pogo stick, and this guy is bouncing around the dance floor, knocking into people. That's his own style, and I got to admit, he looks good doing it.
Oh, man. I could picture it. I could picture
it. Maybe at the end I'll do some moves. We'll see how it goes.
I dare you.
Well, listen, we'll get rolling. So Josh, we're going to kick it off with our first topic, and this is a big one. It's an important one, which is mentorship, and really what this program is all about. And so trying to help people kind of grow and develop and carry on their career. It's about constantly sharpening the axe and continuous improvement. And you're someone that at a young age has really embraced, this topic. And so I think maybe starting out, if you don't mind, just describe some of your first experiences with having a mentor and maybe some of those key takeaways from those experiences.
Yeah, definitely. So when I first started college, I didn't fully grasp just how essential mentors would be in shaping my journey. But looking back, especially as of recently, I realize now they've been difference makers in everything to landing my internship or to simply just figuring out life in general and what it is I want to do with it. And the thing I realize most is that mentors they don't have to be these formal assigned roles like an academic advisor or a boss, although they could be. But it can really be anyone who offers you guidance or perspective on life or whether they realize they're doing it or not. So some of my biggest mentors for me, first and foremost, my dad. He's always been my biggest mentor, constantly giving me advice, sharing his experiences that have helped shape who he is and who he's become. Always reminding me that there's a method to his madness, which is one of his favorite sayings, especially if I don't see it right away. And I'm sure that when he gives us a listen, that'll give him quite the laugh. But That's great. My dad has been pushing me professionally, mentally, and most importantly, spiritually since the day I was born. And I would not be where I was if it weren't for him and all of his guidance. But beyond him, I found mentors in a lot of different places. My older brother, Tyler, has been a great one, a big role model for me all my life. he's allowed me to learn through his mistakes and also some of his successes as well. So being able to learn from him has been awesome. Even people like my roommates, they're really big into business frats here on campus, and they've been great mentors for me, helping me through the interview process and recruitment process. Was definitely very big. And then the last one that I definitely want to recognize, two biggest role models have been friends, parents of mine. Mr. Atwater here, he's been great, and Mr. O'Hara are
What?
two guys I want to highlight.
Wow.
You heard it, Billy. Hey, Josh,
Yep,
It's the first time.
broke up. Could you say that again, please? You just broke up.
Yeah, Mr. Atwater and Mr. O'Hara, they both helped me grow professionally through their advice, kind of hearing more about their careers, especially in the last few months, for sure. So, and the funny thing is, these people might not even realize the impact they've had on me and the decisions I've made. But every conversation, every piece of advice, every story they've shared has helped me in some way, one shape or another. So I'm very thankful for that. And mentors are just, you got to have them. You got to have them for sure.
Yeah, man, I love it. The fact that, obviously it starts with your dad and that relationship you have. So much respect there, but also you're finding it throughout, whether it's your peers, your fraternity brothers, people like Mr. O'Hara and Scott. And by the way, it looks like Scott's influence is a little bit stronger since you're pushing toward sales instead
Yep.
of a finance career. But do love that finance background. That'll serve you well.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe share with us if there's any specific, advice you've received or experiences you've had with your mentors that has really helped build confidence for you or independent or individual growth, I should say, that you've gone through, you're currently going through.
Yeah, definitely. So my dad, he doesn't come from a traditional business background. He works in a different field, but he's very business minded. So growing up with him was interesting because although he's not working in a sales role or a finance role like I've been studying and I'm trying to pursue, he's always taught me to have that go-getter mindset. So from day one, whether it's through sports or in the classroom or what I'm doing now, trying to pursue my career in sales, he's always told me to think outside the box. And even though he may have raised me a different way, it's set me up to stand out from other people. So by having that go-getter mindset has been a big thing that stuck with me. And also always being yourself and being confident, not being afraid of what people think. Maybe you take a different approach to something. I think that's honestly better because standing out nowadays in the competitive job market is something that a lot of kids aren't doing because they might not understand how to do it, or they just prefer that traditional route that they're doing the same thing that every other student is doing. So being told that growing up, and especially now, has helped out a ton. Hearing things from my dad is great, but also hearing things from seasoned professionals like I'm going to keep mentioning Scott and Mr. O'Hara. They've kind of told me the story to how they got to where they are and what they like and what they don't like about it. Because when I came into college, like I kind of touched on, I'm a finance major, and just as of recently, I decided I want to pursue sales. And I wouldn't be able to have done that if it weren't for the advice given to me from these mentors, telling me the pros and cons of what they do, how they like it, and honestly their advice on whether or not I'd be good at it. So
Hey,
definitely
Josh,
those things have helped.
a lot of our audience may not have mentors, and I think we just had a great conversation with Drew Tedrow, right? He's ahead of the game. I think you're ahead of the game. Some of our listeners may not be ahead of the game. Where do you start? Where do you start to kind of establish some good building blocks for mentorship?
Yeah, I think finding mentors isn't hard if you're intentional about it. I think that's something that college students typically overlook. I actually started realizing this my senior year of high school, although I didn't know exactly what it is I wanted to go into, but I made it a point to talk to as many parents as I could, large part because I wasn't sure exactly what it is I wanted to pursue. So I went to a lot of grad parties, sporting events, friends' houses, you name it. I was always introducing myself to people who maybe I haven't met before or I wanted to get to know a little bit more. And this also ties into networking, but it wasn't just about that. It was also about honestly learning. I'd ask mom and dads what they did for a living, how they got there, any advice they have for someone like me. And I was really surprised how much people are willing to share if you just ask them. I think that I'm a firm believer in if you put yourself out there and you ask good questions and you show that you're eager to learn, you'll attract the right mentors. It's just all about putting yourself out there. And I've also learned that people who want to help, people really do want to help those who show that they're genuinely curious about what they do and they have that drive. You don't have to wait for some structured mentorship program to assign you a guide. Just start talking to people no matter where you are. And the number one thing is to always be respectful. I found that definitely gets you a long way.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, Billy, isn't it crazy that just kind of thinking about high school and thinking about college and watching friends come in and out of your own house? Isn't it crazy the few amount of people you mentioned respectful that don't even say hello, that don't come in and shake your hand. They're like right down to the basement with their backpack on. Like, what's in that backpack, Josh? I have no clue. Oh, sorry, I do have a clue. But they just zip right in, and then when they leave, nothing, dude. It's right off to the car and to the next party or wherever they're going. So the basics of creating mentorship, I think a lot has to do with the point that you just made. Just be respectful. You don't need to kiss anyone's butt, but man, the basics of respect. And I know your dad. He's very big on respect, and he's helped me out in a couple situations, which I really appreciate. Just being a genuine good person that wants to help. But for our audience out there, eye contact. Thank people for inviting you into their home. And on the way out, have a good night. If you want to take it to the next level, Josh, like it sounds like you do, what do you do? Some great questions. That's probably a bonus. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, definitely. I think a really important thing is once you find these mentors, or maybe even people you're not sure who could end up being a mentor, you got to know how to use them. And it's not about doing it in a transactional way, but in a way that actually shows that you value their insights and you respect just being in their presence, having them over at your house, little things like that. And eventually, once you get to a point where you know, hey, this person might be a great mentor for me, I think it's important to start asking them questions, to seek their perspective, and most importantly, to listen. I found that just having a handful of people in my corner, people that I can call for advice, whether it's about career moves or just life in general, has made college a whole lot easier. And I definitely will make my career and moving forward a whole lot easier as well. So again, yeah, just to highlight that point of being respectful and really just putting yourself out there. You never know who might come into your life, and it doesn't just help you out; it might help them out as well.
D, you were clapping. What were you saying, buddy? What were you agreeing with?
No, I think that's huge. That's a GOAT styled answer. I mean, it's really simple. It's just not overlooking the fact that some of your friends' parents might actually have like some nuggets that could change your life. Don't just be so locked in on having a good time. Like maybe before you go to the basement, say, hey, Mr. Atwater, do you have a few seconds? I know you're chilling on it. It's a Friday night, but I'm really trying to figure out this next step and, you know, whatever it is, but it's just acknowledging their presence. I don't know. That has always gone a long way. And I know it's super simple, but not many people do it. So the fact that you're intentional is just like, that's
huge. I love your commentary around it shouldn't be transactional.
Yeah.
Right. And often it is. And I think that's the part where you're being really intentional about the questions you're asking, what you're trying to learn, the fact that you want to apply it. And we talked about this with Drew, but it's following it up, following through with those discussions, letting people know how things are working out and panning out. That makes it less transactional and more meaningful to the people giving you advice. And also they're going to get a lot out of you, sharing those successes. So you're very wise beyond your years. So I'm impressed so far by what I'm hearing. The other thing that stands out to me is, and I just think this is so important for all of us, but how do you show up on a regular basis? Are you the same person when you're at home, at the kitchen dinner table with family as you are with your friends, as you are in your frat house? We all have different moments, but ultimately, do you show up well for yourself, for your friends, for the job that you're doing, for people that matter? And if you're consistent with how you show up and how you lead your life, having that mindset that you are showing to be locked into right now of just, I'm going to be intentional about everything I'm doing, that will serve you really well throughout your career. I've just witnessed in my own experiences, too often people are inconsistent, and ultimately let your actions demonstrate or back up your words. And it's easier said than done. But the way you're describing what you've done so far, it's a great body of work to really take advantage of those mentorships. One question, last question on this topic is maybe just share with us the experience now you're having with mentoring others. Obviously, you're tapping into your father and other adults, peers, different people. But how are you giving that back?
Yeah, so I think the number one way that I'm doing it is definitely through my little brother. He's at the point in high school where he's starting to apply to colleges. And although we haven't gotten into much yet, he knows he can come to me for anything. But specifically, I'm looking forward to giving him the advice that helped me when applying to schools and picking the right one. But more importantly, already telling him what to do in high school to get involved that looks better on an application. I would say that's a big way, being a big mentor for my younger brother. But then also here at school, I love giving back. I know that when I was a freshman and I was a pledge in my fraternity, I always really appreciated the help and the mentorship I got from the older kids. And realizing now that I am that older kid and I'm in the position where I can give back to those scared freshmen or the ones that are nervous, they don't really know what to do. So that's something I've been trying to do a lot, encouraging them to join business frats, encouraging them to get involved. Something that happened to me is I didn't get into business school right away when I came here. So I was really stressed on how I can get in. And I remember there was an older kid in my fraternity who helped me out throughout the entire process. And when I got in, I was thrilled. So there's been a lot of kids who have come to me asking some tips and tricks on how to get in, what looks best on the application, how important the GPA is. So I've walked them through my process and what works for me. And again, the way that my dad raised me, you got to think outside the box for a lot of things, especially in today's day and age. So I like to share those tips with them because honestly, they haven't heard many of them. So being able to explain to them what helped me and then seeing them do it firsthand is a great feeling.
Hey, Josh, I got to give you some credit, right? Billy, this one kind of hits home to me. My daughter Ainsley transferred from Miami, Florida to U of I, where Josh is, right? And I honestly, Josh, didn't realize, and that's on me, that you were actually at the University of Illinois. I had no idea. Like Billy knows I'm kind of an airhead at sometimes, and I got so much going on that I really
sometimes
struggle.
I mean, yeah, just sometimes.
I do struggle. But we were chatting about, we'll transition maybe to the next topic here. We're chatting about potential internships and, we knew each other when, as part of Caden's friend group and Owen and those guys. But when Ainsley moved over, Josh was awesome with Ainsley and said, hey, let me introduce you to some people as it relates to maybe the business fraternity or U of I in general. And I think the cool thing about, if it's mentorship, this is more of a leadership comment. Leaders pick people that are lost in the beginning and help them out of the goodness of their heart, right? And there's so many folks, our listeners out there and our viewers that are in college, like you can be cool and you can be kind at the same time. And I think that's a learning lesson for the younger folks. It's a learning lesson for people that are old like me too, that have maybe advanced their career. But the relationship is a two-way street, right? And the mentor is going to be much, Billy, you mentioned follow-up. It's going to be much more meaningful if there's a two-way street. It's not just one way. When I mentor people, it's not just about what's spewing out of my mouth. It's what they're returning back to the equation. And there's so many opportunities to return back. So Josh, I just want to give you a shout out. Thank you for your help with Ainsley. She's having so much fun at U of I. It's a great spot for her. And although she didn't get into the business fraternity as you were helping her with, it increases her chance to get in the next time, right? And those at-bats, when you interview and you don't get what you want, she got into a great sorority, so she's fired up. Then she dovetails into this business fraternity, boom, doesn't get in. And that's just a great leadership by you, watching people kind of come in through the system and being cool and being kind and offering that assistance. So, man, I really appreciate you doing that. Great leadership.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for that shout out there.
Yeah. So, hey, speaking of internships, man, it's a hot topic for our listeners and our viewers. They're really trying to figure it out. And can you walk us through? Sounds like you were maybe looking at some finance, some sales. You're kind of exploring different avenues for internships. How did it start, and what have you learned through the process?
Yeah, so I really started thinking about internships my sophomore year. And to be honest, when I first stepped onto the campus, it was immediate culture shock for me. A lot of my friends started talking about these things called internships, and I was honestly just worried about who the Illini were playing in football that week. So it was a culture shock to kind of start to learn what it is and how to approach it and the best things to do. So like I said, I didn't really know what I was getting into, but when I first started applying to my sophomore year, I wasn't met with great success. I applied to a bunch like everyone was saying to do, and I got maybe a few interviews and I got 0 offers to show for it. So I treated this defeat like I treated football and wrestling growing up. Every loss has a lesson to be learned. You take what went wrong, you break it down, and you come back stronger. So I look at it as if you get a rejection or a failure in life, you turn it into a redirection. And that's something that has stuck with me all these years. And it's really what helped me land the internship that I have now and do really well in the interviews I've had. But when it comes to internships, I think the most important thing to do is preparation beforehand. Do what you could, instead of sulking about maybe not doing well in an interview or getting a job. You should get to work. So you work on revamping your resume, prep harder for interviews, start actively networking instead of just relying on these online applications. And so by the time I started recruiting again just a few months ago, I was a completely different candidate. I walked into interviews with more confidence, more experience, and a better understanding of how to sell myself. And I think the biggest lesson I learned is that although rejection is inevitable, it's how you respond that really sets you apart. So every no that you get is just pushing you closer to the right opportunity. And as long as you're willing to put in the work and improve, the good things will come and good things will happen. So once I realized that, everything changed and it all worked out. But specifically tailored to internships, I think preparation beforehand is huge. Not only just researching the company or the role itself, but also researching who's interviewing you. There were so many times where I did a quick Google search or a quick LinkedIn search, and I found that the interviewer went to a certain school or was featured in a podcast or article. These are all great talking points because when you're in the interview, my approach I take is I try to make it as conversational as possible. So I had a time, actually, I'll share a moment where I was interviewing with a U of I alum, and I saw on their LinkedIn page they had a post about a rock climbing trip they went on. I go rock climbing every single summer with my family down in Utah. So in the tell me about yourself section, I weaved that in there subtly, and that was a big talking point we had for a few minutes, and it just set the tone for the rest of the interview. It was very calm, and it just allowed us to kind of connect in a way that I think a lot of students don't typically try to do when starting off in an interview.
Which that's a direct transferable skill for preparation in a sales career. You're getting ready for any customer meeting. That pre-work is so critical to having a successful engagement. So I love hearing that, man. You're doing everything right. So just brilliant.
Yeah, dude, it's impressive. I agree with Billy 100%. You're setting the foundation. If you do decide to go into sales, that's what it's all about, man. It's prep and connection, prep connection. So well done. Is there an internship that you really went after, didn't get, and did you walk away? You mentioned learning. What did you learn from walking into that one that you really wanted, and what did you learn about yourself or the process when you didn't get it?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of experiences where I go into interviews with a lot of confidence and thinking I nailed it, thinking that I'm going to for sure get that offer letter in the coming weeks. And I didn't, which it sucks. And honestly, it pissed me off. So it made me work harder. But to really dive into it, when you prep for something a lot and you don't get it, it sucks. But like I kind of touched on, you got to just take it as a way to use what you know you did wrong to get better. So when I didn't get the offers from jobs that I either thought that I would get or I really wanted, just turning that into that redirection and working harder, finding ways that can improve your resume, things that could offer you more talking points specifically tailored to a certain interviewer or the role itself. I think the most important thing is that mindset going into things, and certain little tricks too you could weave in and out. Following up is something that I didn't even know about when I first started going into interviews for internships. And once I learned that you're supposed to follow up the same day, I started getting replies back from these recruiters. And I saw that the chances that I got a second round interview or a response back saying that I got the job definitely showed me that that's something I need to do. So figuring out certain little things that improve your chances of getting roles is something that I think a lot of students can benefit from.
Yeah, one thing to add to that too is I'd just say if you're looking at different internships, write down your goal. What are you trying to accomplish? What type of internship are you trying to get? Why are you trying to get it? What do you plan to do with that? But you're 42% more likely to have, I think, I'm trying to remember where I got that stat from, but I used it recently, but it's like 42% more likely to achieve that goal if it's written goals. So it's so important. So I do that prior to going in, and that's just going to make you even more, I think, show up even better for those experiences. Hey, Scott, he has an internship this summer with a large tech company. Yeah. I'd love to get your thoughts on what should he do or what should he consider doing to differentiate himself from other interns once that starts?
Yeah. Well, I think we just kind of take a quick little turn here if everyone's cool with it. And we'll do, I'm going to do a little Q&A with you. So we'll do like a little sample interview. So Billy, I think Bill McDermott, I work for ServiceNow. He's a huge proponent. Writing your goals down, Billy? that 42% number that you just, took off the top of your head, I think it's probably higher, right? That you're going to achieve what you want if you actually write down your goals. So I think that was a really good point, Billy. But Josh, you approached me. First of all, with internships, you got to start a lot earlier than you think in the year, right?
Definitely.
Because ServiceNow, much like other tech companies, and Billy, I'm sure Med Device is very similar, not many people get the opportunity. Like, I think there's about a less than a 5% chance, right, that these hundreds and thousands of applicants actually land an internship. So it's very, very competitive. So first of all, congrats on landing it. And Josh called me up. Hey, Mr. Atwater, so please call me Scott from now on. You're making me sound so old. What do you think about these internships? Any opportunities out there? And that's what kind of started our dialogue, right? And then I put you in touch with a recruiter, and you did it from there. I stayed out of it. I typically open a door, and if someone wants to run through it and come back to me for guidance, cool, but I am not going to, hand even my own son. I will not hand deliver anyone to anyone. You got to earn this stuff. So let's just go through a quick Q&A, Josh, and then maybe we as a group can kind of batter the topic around a little bit. But hey, cool. Josh, appreciate your interest in this internship. Engagement within the college is really important, in my opinion, as a precursor to success. What are some of the things that you've been up to in college besides partying at every fraternity party that you could get your hands on? What else are you up to?
Right. So I've always been a big advocate for staying involved in my community, both at home and at school. So my first goal when I stepped onto campus was to get involved and leave my footprint for the 4 years that I'm there. So I joined numerous different clubs that not only sparked interest in certain things such as consulting or sales or finance at the time, but I made an effort to get a leadership position in the groups that I joined. So I did so through being an active member, reaching out, collaborating, trying to help the initiatives that they're solving, so that eventually when I ran for those positions, I was able to get them and I stood out from the other members who were there. I think a big part that helped me do so was getting involved early on, being a freshman and taking the roles on that I did and being actively engaged and involved like I was, made me stand out from other people. And it made it really impossible for people not to notice me and my presence there. So definitely doing that is something that allowed me to get the positions I had, so that now that I have them, I'm able to help incoming freshmen and other people stay involved and achieve the goals that they have for themselves as well.
Fantastic. What about any tough situations you've run into since you've been at the University of Illinois, and what's a tough situation? What'd you learn from it?
Yeah, so a tough situation I have is I actually served as a project manager for a consulting organization that I was a part of, and my role consisted of overseeing a group of 10 student consultants on a week-to-week basis for a whole entire semester long. And my duties consisted of delegating tasks to each certain member based on their strengths and weaknesses. And overseeing college students is tough because you never know what's on their plate. They're very busy. Everyone has their own things going on in their personal and professional life. So being in that leadership position, I knew that it was my role to establish certain tasks for them to do each week. And it was tough because, like I said, you don't know what's going on and what's in their shoes. So having to meet with every single person specifically, figure out what their availability looks like, trying to help them out in every single way possible was tough. But I knew what I was stepping into when I took on that role, and being able to foster meaningful connections with them as well definitely helped that process go more smoothly, because it allowed them not only to trust me, but allowed me to get them know them better and help them out in every way possible that I could.
Awesome. And then last question, leadership in general. Have you been a part of a situation where you watch someone's leadership style and they didn't do it well in your opinion? What did they do that you questioned, or maybe they could have done better? And what did you learn from it?
Yeah, so another organization I've been involved with since high school is Kiwanis. When I came to campus here, I joined that club as well, and I became the recruitment chair pretty early on. And I noticed that when I was a freshman, I saw the other recruitment chair. They weren't reaching out, having these info night sessions and all these initiatives that helped gather members as efficiently as I thought they could have, because they weren't as personable, because they weren't reaching out, because they weren't hosting these events that truly attracts new members. So when I saw that, I remember taking note and telling myself, if I ever get to the position to take on this role, I would do things differently. So I noticed the weak points and the pain points that were happening in that role. And when I got the chance to take over, I did the exact opposite. And because I had time to prepare and really watch from the person in this role before I was, it allowed me to, like I said, take note of it. And then once I was able to step into that position, I was more personable. I invited more people out to events. I forced my friends to come. I was very demanding, but sometimes that's the trait you have to get new members and to establish a good following into the group that you're a part of.
Fantastic. Let's cut it there. Just a little snippet. Demetri or Billy, any feedback on some of these answers that came from Josh?
I see why I got the internship. So very, very thoughtful. I like your responses. No, man, well done. I think those are great answers to sometimes, not super tough questions, but questions that they're asking a lot of different individuals. So how you respond does matter. And I like tying in the real life experience as those examples. I think that helps as well. D, anything you want to share?
No, I mean, you didn't stutter, so you kind of had it locked and loaded. So that shows confidence.
Yeah, I agree, man.
Scott.
Yeah,
sorry, I was just going to say one thing I do think it's worth, let's talk a little bit about how you're going to differentiate, once you start this thing. Because I think that's something for anyone that's going to go, start an internship, whether it's now or later on in the year. Just understanding some basic fundamentals of standing out while you're getting that experience.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think when you take a look, remember the whole Will Groya conversation, Billy? And he was looking at becoming a sales minor at Michigan State. Right. And I remember my first conversation with him and he's like, oh man, I've done some IT things and I've never really been in sales. I said, hold on a second. Let's talk about what you've done. Let's really dissect these different jobs that you had. And you can call out a sales component to almost everything you do, right? Whether it's turning a problem into a solution, asking good questions. So just know for our audience out there that although you may not have a sales job per se, you're doing elements of sales. So just know that. D, I think you nailed it, right? His storytelling, you can tell you've answered that question a million times. It's crisp, it's practice, it's thoughtful, you're nailing. People need to understand, do you have the ability to get to the point, right? So I really appreciate that. And then lastly, anything for our audience out there that you can do as it relates to recruiting, right? Billy, you and I are in sales leadership. What is one of the most critical things that you've got to be so differentiated at? What is that? It's recruiting, right? And you gotta, if you can build a team around you, D, you're building a business right now. If you can build a team of killers around you, man, does that allow you to scale, right? And if you make the mistake of bringing the wrong person in to set the wrong culture, you are in serious trouble. So anyone that has an opportunity out there, fraternity, business fraternity, any club that you're involved in, or any job that you have, if you can be involved in the leadership process and show success, interest, and curiosity, man, are you going to separate yourself from the pack. So, we just did it real quick, Josh. I think the rehearsal that you had, you can people can, I don't want to get political, so I'm not. I was going to bring up Donald Trump, but I am staying away. But you can, when someone asks you a question, you can take that answer and really draw from other stories that you have to answer that one question. So really well done.
Thank you.
Hey, Josh, I'd love, maybe we start with you, I guess. What's your plan of attack? So you start this internship. How are you going to differentiate yourself? And what are some of the things you're kind of thinking in advance that you're going to do different?
Yeah. So first I want to touch on, I've already made a plan. I understand that the facility that I'll be at over the summer has a gym. So my goal is to be there bright and early every morning. Try to kind of show that I'm an active guy, trying to stand out, maybe even engage in a few conversations, hoping that they might also be workers at the same company I'll be at, but also just showing that I take action. I'm very eager to not only better myself professionally, but also in a fitness standpoint as well. I'm also trying to get in contact with other interns and other people down in San Diego where I'll be working at now, so I can kind of just get my foot in the door and show how eager I am to make an impact and get ahead in the best way that I can. And again, just trying to network. Networking is something that is so important. It has helped me out so much this far, so I don't see any point in stopping to do that. So Scott's been great in helping me do so, and I'm hoping to continue to find more people and get to know them a little bit before I even step foot in San Diego.
Yeah, Billy, I think that's great. I use this corny term all the time. Start doing the job before you get it. What does that mean? Okay, Billy, you ask a good question. How are you going to differentiate yourself going into this internship? Start doing it. Okay, cool. What does that mean? Well, that means reaching out for people that are already doing it, right? You've already had one conversation with Tyler, and he's going to get you in touch with other people that are actually doing the job. So that person might say to you, hey, Josh, thanks for reaching out. Appreciate it. You're going to really need to understand AI and really get a basic fundamental understanding of that. Cool. Go do some homework. Go brush up on the AI message as it relates to ServiceNow. Now, all of a sudden, you know what's coming. You're doing the job before you get it. Great way to differentiate yourself. So when someone says, who's the first one that wants to give the first call pitch? You're going to be like, dude, I've been doing it. I'll be the first one, and I'm going to go nail it. Like, not being cocky, but based on the hard work that you've done up front and the networking that'll allow you to kind of start doing the job before you get it.
Exactly.
That's right. Yeah, and I think the other thing, I think right out of the start of this thing, I would definitely, they're going to give you expectations, but I would try to get a one-on-one to really align on what great looks like. Hey, whoever's running the intern program, maybe walk me through the last few years of your experience with this. Who are the interns that stood out the most? What did they do that was unique or different? Why were they so successful? And then you learn that so you can start to adopt some of those strategies. And then it's all your basic things, right? Showing up early, be the first there. And it's one thing just to get there early and sit there and scroll through your phone, but actually get there early and start doing work. Be proactive. Get an early jump on your day. Don't wait to be told to do something. If you've got nothing going on, just go ask. Go ask if, hey, can I start working on X, Y, or Z? Or is there a stretch assignment, that you can be part of? I'd constantly be kind of eager. Are there any group projects or anything I can help lead that will help this program? Anything outside of the ordinary? I think those are all the little things that are going to help start to differentiate you. How well you communicate. I think we talked about this before. Preparation is key. Preparation, execution, and follow-up. Those are kind of the three main ingredients to a successful seller. Sounds really easy. It's really difficult, but making sure you're properly preparing, then you're executing your plan, and then you follow up. So many people lack that follow-up. That alone will help you stand out. And that could just be a quick conversation in the hallway with someone new you meet. Make sure you send them a quick note. Enjoyed our 5 minutes. I took this away from our conversation. I'll keep you updated as the internship goes. Those are all little deposits you'll make along the way that will help you stand out. So I'm excited for you. I think you're going to do great, no doubt.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
And Josh, before we kind of move on to our next topic here, just the little things. And for our audience, we did a prep call before we get on. We try to do a prep call and really understand what the message may want to be, what would resonate with our audience. And we sat and I said, hey, put some thought into kind of what you want to discuss and what you think would be valuable to the audience. And there was probably, Billy, a full page from Josh? Full page of notes. Yeah. Boom. I want to hit this and I want to hit this. And honest to God, like when I interview quite a bit, and Billy, I know you do as well, when I see that follow-up come through, I start to glow. I'm like a little kid. I'm like, yes, they're getting it. And if I'm being honest, I don't even read it. But if it's got a lot of bullets, I know someone's putting the time into it. And then I was actually obviously read it in preparation for this call. But like when we're doing it.
Say, Josh, I did read your feedback.
But well done, my friend. I think that's really, really important. And the art of follow-up and the art of documenting the follow-up and being concise around it, really, really, really important as you move forward.
Yeah, there's one thing you said that stood out too. We kind of glossed over. I think it's an important one though. I love how you talked about turning a rejection or a failure into a redirect. And so it's at the end of the day, it's not really a failure. It just didn't work out the way you're hoping it would work out, and so it's more of how can you pick up the pieces and learn from that. And I think even when you're doing an internship, even when you're working with a mentor, there's going to be different things that maybe feel outside of your comfort zone or something you don't think you're going to be able to accomplish, or you go try to do it and it doesn't work out. Again, take it as a redirect, right? What can I do different the next time I try this? And that's how you continue to press your craft. And so I thought that was just really, really mature of you to have that mindset of anytime I fail or have some sort of rejection, I'm going to turn that into a redirect and just build on it and get better. And that's the right attitude to have. So I know we talked a little bit about networking in the beginning. We wove that in a little bit with the mentor piece, but maybe let's get into that a little bit, and we can mix that in with kind of your college experience, because I think you've done a lot of networking since you've been at U of I. But maybe just talk to us what or how you've been able to leverage your network to get to put you in a better position to be successful.
Yeah, I would say by far the two best things I've done to network have been, one, attending careers the right way, or career fairs the right way. And I say the right way because my first career fair was an absolute disaster. I walked in my sophomore year unprepared with no strategy, no game plan whatsoever. And I asked the same basic surface level questions that every other student was asking. And I could see in the recruiters' faces that they were just going through the motions with me. And I walked out feeling like I wasted an amazing opportunity, and I honestly felt pretty defeated as well. But I told myself, again, just because this is a rejection, turn that into redirection, and I was going to be the student that recruiters remembered the following year. So, fast forward a year later, I approached the career fair with a totally different mindset. I prepared beforehand by researching the companies, taking notes on their initiatives, whatever it may be. And I even reached out to some of the recruiters on LinkedIn beforehand. But the biggest game changer I had, and this is something I've never seen any other student do, and I have to give credit to my dad once again because he gave me this idea, but I printed out 200 student business cards with my name, my major, my contact info, and a QR code to my LinkedIn account. And I handed them out.
Old school, Billy.
Awesome.
Old school.
That is
like
awesome. Yeah.
I handed it
By
out.
the way,
like
we got to get Josh's dad on the podcast.
You would love that, but I handed them out like it was Halloween candy. So, but beyond preparation, I completely changed the way that I interacted with these recruiters. Instead of being robotic and asking the same boring questions, I brought the freaking energy, unlike I did the first time. And I focused on making connections with them as people first before even talking about the company, because I think here's the thing: students tend to put recruiters on a pedestal and get intimidated by them, when in reality, most of the time, they don't even want to be there. They've been standing there for hours. They're thinking about when they get to leave. And the last thing they want is another "tell me about your company" question. So my favorite moment from the career fair is when I was chatting with this recruiter and I found out that he was an alumni from my school. So the whole conversation suddenly shifted. We weren't talking about the work he does or the company or anything like that. He asked me what my favorite bar was on campus. So we talked about that for about 10 minutes, and then we finally got into more of the meat and potatoes of the career fair and what he does. But I noticed that once we started talking about that good stuff, the advice he gave me actually meant something. It wasn't him just telling me, hey, go scan this QR code and it'll take you to the online application. I could tell he actually wanted to help me. And I think that's because if you're more personable with recruiters and you're not so intimidated by them or who they are as a recruiter, it really helps you out. And the thing is, the people in line behind me probably hated me because I took that guy away for about 20 minutes, but that's the game you got to play, and I like to win. So I think knowing these things definitely can help you out and give you that competitive advantage when you're at events like the career fair.
That's incredible. And I think that's it. At the end of the day, you prepared, round two, you really prepared. And when you're prepared, the conversations are going to flow a lot more naturally. And you can just get into good dialogue and good conversation. So, man, well done. That's exactly and that's sales, right? It's finding some common ground and finding something that whoever you're talking to has some interest in, get them talking about that. And just turn on that active listening and you're off and running.
Yeah. And Billy, you know what it made me think about is kind of Gladwell's rule of 10,000. If you do networking properly, and you can have fun at school and you can go to that bar because you use that bar experience in the interview, which is kind of interesting. Seems like a trap question to me. But anyway, when you get that many at bats and you're working on the rule of 10,000, you do something 10,000 times, you become a master, right? And I think you're ahead of the game. You're a lot like our last guest, right? And Drew Tedrow, and you guys are ahead of your game. You're getting those at bats, and you're getting the at bats, and that will allow you, right? When I asked you those 3 questions, they're just going to be nailed, right? And the more you network and have conversations, and that rule of 10,000 continues to gradually increase and increase and increase. Once you get good at that, then you can work on differentiation. And Billy's mentioned it a couple times. What makes you unique, right? Because you've got those at-bats, that'll allow you to fold in kind of what makes you unique in such a much easier manner. Whereas before, if you're not climbing to that 10,000, Josh, you can't differentiate yourself. You're trying to formulate a sentence and create clarity with a point, right? So the message for our audience out there, what are you doing to create at-bats? What's your plan? Billy mentioned it again. Are you writing this stuff down? And I don't want to sound like a prude here, like all you got to do is focus on your career while you're at college. But man, if you can create that balance, and that's the key. Enough at-bats on that balance side. So, Josh, kudos to you for grinding to that 10,000, which allows the differentiation to be much easier.
Yep,
and Josh, if you don't mind, maybe just let's get into that for a second. So talking about campus life and finding balance. I mean, it's hard because I've talked to my daughters about this. I've got a son that's a junior in high school. He's got some time to go, but these are very real conversations of how are you going to manage, obviously, your academics, your social life, the extracurriculars, and trying to get internships, job experiences, things that are going to lead you toward your future. And it's a lot, especially when you're at college on your own trying to figure everything out. Those early years, like Drew Tedrow we talked to, he's only a freshman. He's well ahead of the curve, and he's doing a great job figuring it out. You've had 3 years to kind of navigate your world. What would you share with your peer group or others that are maybe just getting ready to start in college, or they're in college trying to figure out how they're going to balance trying to get a job, trying to get those experiences? How have you done it well, and what's your advice to them to manage that?
Yeah, I would say that balancing college life with staying on top of your goals is one of those things that a lot of freshmen do tend to worry about, and I was no different. I remember coming into college thinking, how am I going to juggle everything? Classes, I want to have a good social life. I want to watch the Illini play football, all these things. And I thought, how am I going to stay on top of it all? So the biggest thing that's helped me is staying organized, setting goals that are actually achievable and that make sense. Not just things like I want to get straight A's but things that like I'm going to attend office hours early in the morning so that I can get my homework done to the best of my ability, so that later at night I can do things like go out with my friends or go to my club meetings or watch the sporting events, things like that. So I think another big thing is the people you choose to surround yourself with matters big time. Something my dad always tells me is you are the average of your 5 closest friends. So that stuck with me. I like
we just talked about that a little while ago. Yep.
Awesome. Yeah. I made it an effort to hang out with a group of guys and girls that were just good people, good role models, and that motivated me to get all my things done first instead of prioritizing going out to the bars or doing things like that don't really help you achieve those goals like I touched on. But then again, I think if I had any advice for people coming to college, get involved. I wouldn't be too focused or fixated on not having enough time to do things like going out or things like that. As long as you're organized and you are motivated and know at least a glimpse of what you want your future to look like, you got to start your freshman year, because that's really the first time you're away from your parents. You're living life on your own. You get a glimpse of adulthood. So join clubs, join social or professional fraternities or both. Join clubs that interest you, or maybe just a random one for fun, because all these things, freshmen may not notice it, but it's all building your resume from day one. So it not only allows you to grow as a person, it allows you to have talking points for interviews, which you may not notice or you may not recognize your freshman year, but once you become that sophomore and junior and senior, all these things that you've been doing from day one on campus are things that you could talk in an interview. And a book that I would love to recommend is called Make Your Bed. It's written by a former Navy SEAL. It talks about how if you start your day with a simple task like making your bed, it motivates you for the rest of the day to do small tasks, small or big. And it just keeps you on track to do the things that you want to do. So it definitely helps shift my mindset. And it's something that allowed me to have the successes and be where I am today.
It's a great book, and you can find his speech on YouTube as well.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. But yeah, that's great, man. I love it. Well, listen, I think this has been phenomenal. Obviously, you're very mature, very impressive. It'll probably be a little bit of a battle to try to pull you away from Scott at some point in the network game. But I will tell you may want to consider medical device over tech sales, and I'll talk to you offline about why. But certainly, you're someone I know I'd want to hire. So I'm really impressed. And I guess in closing, any final advice or words of wisdom for your peers, for aspiring college kids that want to have a career in sales, or just to prioritizing, starting to prepare for that journey, would be really helpful to hear from you.
Yeah, I'll try to keep it short and sweet. I think obviously balancing college is tough, but with any tough task, you just got to have the right mindset. Be a go-getter, make yourself stand out. LinkedIn is something that's huge. Make that LinkedIn account as soon as possible. Connect with everyone that you can that has meaning to you. Join groups, make posts, make yourself stand out so that it's hard for people not to notice you. That definitely helps with recruiting and things like that. But learning through trial and error is something that is so big. If you don't already have experience through that, you definitely will in college, but it's something where as long as you look at it the right way and you use those lessons in a way that can truly benefit you, whether it's a week later or a year later, like it did for me, the difference will be night and day. So having the right mindset, trusting that everything happens for a reason, you'll all be okay. You just got to put the work into it and just trust yourself and trust those around you and utilize those mentors.
Josh, phenomenal work.
Incredible.
And this is something that we ask a lot of our guests to do. I'm going to make you uncomfortable. You okay with that?
That's okay. Go for it.
All right. So this podcast is called The Goat's Gravy. And I'm going to ask you to give your best goat impression.
Oh, man.
Okay. So take a moment, gather yourself. What do you got for the audience here? Your best goat impression.
All right. You ready?
Let's do it, baby.
Bah.
That was pretty good.
Hope that's all right.
That's perfect, dude. That was perfect.
Work on it.
An obvious rising star and future GOAT, Josh Sullivan, really impressive. Thank you so much for your time today. We loved it. And we'll bring you back for sure to get an update on the internship. So best of luck to you in the future, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Tell your dad we said hello, will you?
Will do. I had a lot of fun. Thank you, guys.
And that brings us to the end of another episode of The Goat's Gravy. We've shared some awesome insights and strategies aimed at enhancing your journey in sales. And the conversation does not have to stop here. So be sure to follow us on social media at The Goat's Gravy and explore more at thegoatsgravy.com. Your journey towards sales mastery is ongoing, and we're here to support you at every step. So thank you for tuning in today. Stay curious, stay driven, and we'll see you on the next episode. Take care.